Hi, welcome to WMD, that's Woody's Modelling Diary. We're in the chaos of my man cave. Slightly less chaotic than it has been over the past few weeks. Did have a bit of a tidy up, and if you think, it still looks untidy, Woody, you should have seen it before. Never mind, we're here to have a bit of an update on my OO gauge layout, my last great project. Which I haven't had an update for a while now, but we have been progressing with a few things, and you're probably thinking, Woody, there's a bit of a gap in your layout there. It doesn't look like much progress to me, but you will see, standing up just across the way, there is a section of baseboard which does fit into that gap, and that's what I've been working on just now. Basically the idea is that it's not a section I'd take out to get in and out of the operating well. It's more just to give me a little bit more room should I have other projects or want to do things like move my 009 gauge layout chalked and around, or indeed my USA shunting layout. Eventually most of those boxes will go. They contain mostly stuff for this layout. So I think the best thing next is just to have a look at what I've been doing to this baseboard, which is quite interesting on the other side of it. So I'll just stop the video there and turn the baseboard around, and we'll come back to have a look what I've got up to. Right, we've got the baseboard turned around. That section there is where the viaduct is. It's a good job you probably can't see that from above. It's a bit messy and made up from a few bits and pieces, but it does its job. Going further up, you can see where the wiring sort of comes together. I've used the basic principles of good wiring according to most of the experts, which is that each section of rail should have a set of wires to it. So I've got quite a few. I think I've got something in the region of about 28 wires. There's 4 at the bottom, which feed up, and then there's, I think, something like 26 at the top, so there's about 30 altogether. They're all wired into that, which I'll show you in a minute, which is a sort of a multi-purpose connector, which makes life a lot easier when you're wiring up. I've still got the point motors to do. You can see where I've cut the slots, just there and there. There's another 2 down there as well. For me, this is quite neat wiring. You may have seen some of my horrendous spaghetti type wiring in other episodes. So I've actually tried to be neat on this one. So I'll show you the connector in a minute. So we'll just go to that. Right, this is the connector. I bought it from a company called DMG Electech. They're at, I think, Taff's Well in Wales. Cost about just under £5 each, but they're brilliant. As you can see, there's a whole number of connectors there. And all of that bank feeds into that one, and all of that bank feeds into that one. And then you can, obviously, if you're using a bus system of wires for DCC, you've got your 2 wires which go in there. If you've got more than, I think there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. There's 12 connectors on each side. So what you can do is use both sides for one sort of side of your wiring, and then just loop round there to connect the 2 together. So they're quite versatile. Even comes with a couple of screws and spacers to fasten to the baseboard, which is nice. Really does save a lot of hassle, and they're available from other companies. I'm just a satisfied customer of DMG, and as I say, for £5, roughly under £5, really good value. Makes it a lot easier. So you might be wondering, how does the baseboard fit in and you get the correct alignments of the track? Well, when I built the baseboard, I bolted it both sides to its mating baseboards. I made sure they were level, and then I just put 2 screws through on each side, then undid them, and basically took the removable baseboard out and then just cut 2 slots slightly slanted to the screw holes, so that in effect those holes line up with the screws and then just drop down. And it's a fairly simple job. I'm not going to actually do this in front of you because it will end up in chaos trying to manhandle a camera and the baseboard. So we'll come back to when the baseboard's in position. Well, I've got the baseboard back into position. It's not one of those jobs which is particularly difficult. It's just sometimes it's a little bit easier to do it with 2 hands. This thing is not exactly designed for one-handed operation. So here we are anyway. You're probably thinking, what about the joints between the track and how do you make those align properly? Well, you could leave the plastic base and just cut through the rails and glue it down and hope for the best, but the likelihood is that you'll catch the rail and it will just rip it out of the plastic sleeper base. And if you don't think that's possible, just pull away the sleeper from some track and you'll see just once it gets going it really starts to rip out. There's not a lot of strength in it. So what I've done is I put these plywood bases in which in effect mimic the underlay which I've used, which is that floor underlay, thermal underlay, which I described in another video. And then on top of that I stripped away 2 sleepers either side of where the joint was going to be, and I've used this copper clad sleeper strip, which I bought a long time ago at a railway show, and is basically designed for the guys who build their own track, usually to EM or P4 gauges. So in effect they can cut the correct length of sleeper from that, and that's what I've done here. Some of the spacing's a little bit out, but once you get the ballast in and they're disguised and painted up, it shouldn't be too obvious, and my main mission in this is just to make sure there's strength in the joint. So those are super glued to the plywood. I just tinned them with solder before putting them in place just to make soldering a little bit easier. I'm not the best solderer in the world, as you can tell. There's a little bit of a blob there which I need to clean up and file down a little bit. But basically the rail is then soldered to the sleeper strip, and the important bit to avoid short circuits is you've just got to break the copper clad at some point. So I've just gone for the middle and I'll put a little bit of filler or something in there just to disguise it, and that just breaks the electrical circuit, which would make a short circuit if you didn't do that. But it is strong. Quite literally, you're not going to move that very far. So that's done its job, and that's what I need it to do. Just turning the round on the baseboard. Done a little bit of ballasting. Normally I don't do the ballasting until after I've finished the scenery and given the track a real good testing. But in this instance I've decided I just wanted to get some done on the viaduct anyway. You can get all sorts of ballast, including real granite chippings. I didn't want to add the weight of granite chippings. If you've ever picked up a bag at a railway show or a model railway shop, it's incredibly heavy, and you'd probably add another kilo or so to the weight of this board. So what I've got is this from Woodland Scenics. It's a medium ballast grey blend, and it's quite light, probably, I don't know, half a kilo in that entire bottle. So it should make sure that we don't add too much weight to the baseboard. One of the things that you do find out once you've started ballasting, and if you do turn the baseboard upside down, you do discover the areas which perhaps haven't gone as well as you hoped, and that's one of those areas there. The ballast just dropped out, a little bit dropped out of there, so I'm going to have to go back again and do certain bits. Another section just here, and again just across the way. So in a way it's quite a good thing just to turn it upside down and see what does come off. But other than that, I'm quite pleased with the way that's coming on. So although things have progressed quite a bit from where it was, there's still a lot to do. And as I say, this is my last great project. Even if I work full time at this, it would probably be another year before I get this to a state where I'm really thinking it's getting finished. But I always built this just to watch trains go round. And you know what? That's what we're going to do now. Let's watch some trains. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and a little bit of an insight into the woody ways of doing things with baseboard joints. I've been in this hobby for decades, but I'm still learning. I've done baseboard joints before, but never quite to this extent. Normally it's just been a couple of rails going across a joint on an end-to-end layout. So I'm learning things all the time, and one of the things of YouTube is there are people out there, and a lot better than me, but we're all doing things, we're all trying to share that information, trying to make lives a little bit easier for people, try to give them the confidence to do stuff. And I hope that may have given somebody who watches this the confidence to try something of a baseboard joint or something of that nature, or ballasting, or whatever it is. The main thing, enjoy the hobby. As I say, I built this layout to run trains, and that's what I do. And one of my favourite parts is that sort of scissor junction there, just to the left. And I'm going to finish off with running one of my favourite locos, which is the Freightliner Class 57, and I just enjoy watching it go through that scissor crossing. I hope you do too. Thanks for watching, and even that. And we'll see you again. You take care of yourselves. Just one last thing, don't forget, a lot of this stuff is on my blog. That's Woody's Modelling Diary, WMD for short. Just search for Woody's Modelling Diary on, I think it's blogspot.com. Take care. Bye.